He wanted it open, but I closed it.
Oh.
No, I'll let them know.
When did he open it?
Oh, it was hot here. It got hot.
Oh, then just, I don't know, disrupt it.
I'm sure we'll pull it off enough.
It'll get warm and then we'll open it again. Well, you survived the video.
Yes. I got the nap in. Actually dropped the whole debris.
Thank you for the jury. I was gonna ask you that.
What's that?
The paper, the jury was
Oh,
on the.
yeah, no problem.
In fact, I asked.
Yeah,
them
it
there.
sure is.
Okay.
And,
Welcome to Lake County.
You were right. I mean, I'd rather it happen now and finally get to it before the, commute
That's what I was thinking.
back.
Yeah.
I just hope it trails off
Yeah.
because it was, it's almost a different environment
oh, that's fine.
out on the east side. It
Oh,
just
really?
it happens faster. Like, we get the same amount
No,
from
it's
time
no
to time,
big deal. It's no
but
big
it's
deal.
more
I mean,
a slow burn.
Mhm.
It's not like,
okay. Usually
like
when
on the
these do
highway,
this,
it
I
went
put
from
together.
nothing to like an inch or two
Oh, okay.
instantly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I think that's all lake effect. I think we just get less of that and more of like the actual storm.
What's that?
I
So.
saw a lot of carnage today,
Really?
but I wasn't
All rise. You may be seated. All right, Mr. Grau, you may call your next witness.
For our next witness, we call Miss Kathleen Crozier.
You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Okay. Okay.
Name clear.
Thank you. Ms. Crozier, thank you. Will you please state your full name and spell your last name for the record?
Kathleen Laura Crozier, Crozier.
May I call you Kathleen?
You may.
Kathleen, we're going to go through a little bit of introductory questions.
Okay.
First and foremost, where did you graduate high school?
Richmond Heights.
Okay. What education did you pursue post-high school that you can describe to the board?
Certified licensed practical nurse.
Would you mind speaking up a little bit?
Sure. Oh, I can go closer. Certified licensed practical nurse.
Okay. What ultimate certificate or degree did you obtain in that area?
CLPN.
The LPN.
Mhm,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, let's go right into the work in that regard then.
Okay.
Where did you practice thereafter in that area?
13 years I was inpatient oncology at Hillcrest Hospital, and 3 years hospice of the Western Reserve.
Okay. Do you still practice in that area today?
I do not.
Okay. Outside of the nursing career, did you have any other education that ended up in a certificate or something along those lines?
I did.
Okay. What did you pursue and where was that?
I have certification in polarity, reflexology, and I'm a biodynamic craniosacral therapist.
Sorry, you're
Yeah. Reflexology, polarity, and biodynamic craniosacral therapist.
Were there certificates that you obtained in order to call yourself those things?
Correct.
Okay. How do those terms differ? Just because I think most people haven't heard those very often.
How do they differ? Reflexology is working on points on the feet that correspond to body parts. Polarity is working with the elements, ether, air, fire, water, and earth. And craniosacral therapy is working with the nervous system.
And do you perform that work with, would you say patients or customers?
Clients.
Clients,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I used both wrong words there.
That's okay.
Are you still working in that area, or is there any pause in that?
I do, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there any other employment that you have currently?
Well, I was 13 years a nurse, 21 years at Trader Joe's, and currently I'm a positive reinforcement dog trainer, and I foster dogs.
Large dogs, small dogs?
All dogs.
All dogs?
I've had a Chihuahua all the way up to a Great Dane, actually.
Okay. You mentioned some fostering and some training.
Yes.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
What's a day in the life of the training entail?
Going into somebody's home and working with behaviors that might show up, basic manners, really fostering a good relationship between a human and their canine is what my main focus is.
So is it fair to say a little more than sit, stay?
Correct.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
How about the fostering? How does that work?
I began when we were on lockdown because I live alone and just fostering for a couple different rescues. I've had 35 in 3 years.
Well, outside of that realm, you had mentioned you live alone. Did anyone live with you in the past?
My son?
Your son?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, let's get into family a little bit.
Okay.
So are you married?
No.
Okay. But you mentioned a son. Is he your only child?
Yes.
Okay. Can you please let me know his age and what he does?
Sure. He's 29 and he is a Senior Account Manager for Financial Technology Sales, and that's going to be the hardest thing I remember today.
Is that in the financial services realm or in the sales, or is there an overlap there?
I know he's done work for merchant sales. I don't know a whole lot about it. Other than he's very good at what he does.
Okay. So his roles in the financial realm generally,
Mm-hmm.
and your roles have been in realms in regards to care for patients and care for animals?
Correct.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Healing mostly?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's get right into it then. I'd like to get access to the screen to bring up the first exhibit. Kathleen, this picture's been brought up before. Do you recognize your home in this photograph?
I do.
Do you recognize the barber's home in this photograph?
Yes.
Which is which?
Mine is on the left and the barber's is on the right.
Okay. What calendar year do you recall you purchasing your home?
I believe it was 2002.
Okay. We're going to go to Exhibit 4. Mr. Rozier, I'm going to scroll this document. It's 3 pages. The last one's upside down. The first 2 are right side up. Okay. As we look at this first page, let me ask you: do you recognize this document?
Yeah, I mean, it was a long time ago, but yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you see a date near the upper right-hand corner?
It looks like 8/30/2002.
Does that date ring a bell for you?
It does.
Okay. What is it to you?
That would have been the deed date.
Okay. I don't have anyone to scroll from me today. Let's scroll to the second page. Do you see the title, which is very small in the upper left-hand corner?
Yes, warranty deed.
Okay. Do you understand this to be the document that, when recorded, transferred title to you?
I do.
Okay. Have you transferred title to anybody else, or do you own it entirely?
I own it.
Okay. When you moved in, because we had referenced the Barbers, when you moved in, did the Barbers already live next door?
They did.
Okay. At the time that you took title to the property, I'm going to close this exhibit. At the time that you took title to the property, were you ordered by the city to make any alterations to the property upon taking possession of the property?
I was not.
Okay. Was the prior owner asked to do anything in regards to the exterior of the property, or for that matter, the interior?
The exterior, my recollection is there was, I believe, a crack in the sidewalk that they were required to repair before I moved in, and they did.
Okay. So is it fair to say that's the entire list of items that required repair before you could move in 2002?
That's correct.
Okay. More specific question. Were you or the prior owner, to your knowledge, required to make any alterations to the garage that we've talked about in this case already before moving in?
Neither of us were.
Okay. Same question, but as to the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
Did either of you have any requirements relative to alterations to the driveway that the city would have mandated?
Neither of us.
Okay. How about drainage, for that matter, to any areas within the limits of your property? Did the city make you make any alterations to your property to correct any drainage?
They did not.
Okay. All right, we're going to go to Exhibit 7. Now, you had mentioned that you moved in 2002. Is that right?
Correct.
Do you remember this document having been testified about previously by Mr. Daryl Keller in that video?
I do.
Okay. Now, having moved in 2002, Did you have occasion to see the construction of the patio in July of 2019 on the Barber property?
I did.
Okay. Can you briefly describe for the court, to your knowledge, the differences, if any, between old patio and new patio?
The new patio surface is slab concrete. The old was brick, and it's a larger surface. Excuse me.
So let's move forward in time. During those first few years living there, did you have many interactions with the barbers, or were you? How did it go with the barbers?
Yeah, I did. We were neighborly, chatted in the yard. We had children that went to the same school system, so talk about kids and weather and, just basic stuff.
So, seeing now that you've brought a claim in relation to water drainage from their property and damages, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you at any point in time before this bring to their attention anything about their property in the past?
I inquired with Gene Barber probably 15 years ago. My son played basketball for the high school, and he used to, we had a basketball hoop in our, near where the damage is now, actually. And there are 2 exhaust pipes next to the air conditioner on the side of their home that faces my home. And I had inquired about the exhaust pipes with Mr. Barber, and it was an uncomfortable conversation.
When you describe it as uncomfortable, can you give a little more detail, please?
Sure. I asked him what they were, and he mumbled something, didn't give a direct answer, and I suggested that one might be a dryer vent. And this was 15 years ago, but what I think I remember him saying is, yeah, it's a dryer vent, kind of in a sarcastic manner, and then he walked away.
How did you feel about that interaction?
I still don't know what those vents are, and it was awkward.
Okay. Let's move forward in time past that interaction, and let's talk about 2019, calendar year 2019.
Okay.
Okay. You see here on the document, patio, July, or 07/11/19, so July of 2019, correct?
Okay, correct.
In July, or immediately after July of 2019, did you notice anything different about the Barber property in relation to water?
I did. I noticed a dramatic increase in water in my garage and driveway.
Okay. So in characterizing it as a dramatic increase, what differences, if any, existed between prior to July of 2019 and July of 2019 forward?
I would characterize it as July of 2019 forward as flooding, and prior to that as time to time.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I should clarify, water time to time.
Okay. Where did you see this flooding after July of 2019?
Much like we've seen in the pictures and video, it's the inside of the south side of the garage, and the point where the driveway meets the garage, and then down, I believe it's 3 sections of concrete slab on the driveway.
Will you please, I'm going to characterize after July 2019 as the after, right?
Okay.
And then prior to July 2019 as before.
Okay.
So I'm terming them before and after. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Can you please describe for the court the before versus the after, comparing the amount of water you saw?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. Comparing the before to the after, how would you compare those relative to the amount of water you saw coming from the Barber property?
Small to significant flooding is how I would term it.
Okay. How would you compare the frequency of the before to the after?
Time to time and regularly.
Okay. When you say regularly, does that coincide with rain events?
Correct.
Okay. What types of rain events?
I should clarify also rain events or melting snow. Moderate to heavy rain events, and it's hard to say about the melting snow.
Okay. So shortly thereafter in 2020, did you take any physical action whatsoever, whether it was on your property or the property line or the barber's property, to bring to the barber's attention your concern?
I believe what you're referring to are the gray bricks. Is that?
Sorry, I'm just asking you questions, but
So 2020. Would you?
Please carry on with that answer, though. I didn't want to cut you off about the bricks.
Yeah, I don't believe that I had done that yet. In 2020, what happened is I noticed, my recollection is summertime, that my garage door started to, the wheels on the track for the garage door were popping off. And I don't know about garage doors, but I did notice a difference, and it was rather loud at times. And a Groupon popped up for a company called Precision Door to maintenance your garage. I think it said something like lubricate the wheels and do a maintenance on the garage. So I purchased the Groupon, and the technician came out in September of 2020, and he did whatever was in the Groupon, and I said, why are the wheels popping off of the track? And he pointed to the bowing of the vinyl siding at the bottom right and said, your garage is sinking. And he actually pointed to my neighbor's backyard and said, there's probably a lot of water coming from your neighbor's yard.
Objection.
Sustained. That answer is stricken.
And so that was, at that point, I realized that I was making the connection of the water that I was seeing in the garage, in the driveway, to damage that was occurring.
Then I think you had mentioned, because I had it a bit out of order in my own mind, then I think you mentioned a brick or bricks. Is that right?
Yes. Shortly after that, the time, I'm not real clear on the timeline of this, but I had bricks in my garage, gray ones from fostering dogs. It's to hold a tarp down so the puppies didn't pee on my floor in the basement. And I put them as a marker for the property line in the rear garden beds, that small area that I own on the south side of the garage. And then, to the property line that I believed it was with the barbers.
Okay. What effect, if any, did that have?
I used to see when Gene Barber would mow the small grass area in their backyard, he would walk over and pick up the brick and throw it.
Upon witnessing that, did you ever mention to him or talk with him about picking up the brick and throwing it?
I did. At one point, I was outside and I said something about the brick to him. I explained to him that I was putting it there to establish a property line, and he escalated very quickly and said, what property line? And I said, I made the assumption because they had built a fence in the back of their property, and at some point, they must have determined where the fence ended was their property line. So I just went from that, because at that point, there were no surveys. And so I said, well, I made the assumption that that's where the property line is. And he, again, escalated quickly and said, if it's a property line, everything has to be 6 inches from the property line. And I walked to my back door because he was escalating, and he followed me to my back door.
Okay. How did that interaction ultimately end?
I closed my door.
Okay. Was he close to the door?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have any verbal interactions with Eugene Barber after that occasion in relation to the brick or anything else?
No.
Okay. Was that a choice?
Yes.
Why?
I didn't like the aggressive nature of his response.
Okay. How did it make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
Okay. Did you ever put anything in writing to the Barbers in 2020 in relation to the brick or anything else for that matter?
I did. I requested that they remove hydrangea bushes that were on my property outside the garage in that same area because I had planned to ask the city to come out and do an inspection of what was happening with the water drainage.
Okay. So you're testifying today that the plan was you wanted to eliminate that from the area so that inspection was simple?
Correct.
Okay. So you're mentioning now contacting the city of Willoughby to get their take on what's going on. Is that right?
I would like to add something to my answer with your last question, if I may.
Sure.
I wanted to reclaim my property as well.
Okay. So you're testifying also that reclaiming your property was an intent of yours at that time?
In asking them to remove the hydrangea bushes, yes.
Okay. Okay. Returning back to the city, and moving right along, did you end up contacting the city of Willoughby shortly thereafter, and if so, when about?
If memory serves me correctly, it was spring of 21, and I contacted the city just through the general number, and I believe it was Larry, I'm not sure how to say his name, Puskus, who came out to do the initial inspection.
Was that the name referenced during the Keller testimony?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you recall seeing him?
I do. I observed things with him, right along with him.
Okay. Did you have occasion to talk with him?
I did.
Okay. What did you say? I'm not asking what he said to you. What did you say to him?
I pointed out the elevations in their yard, and there was probably residue in the garage at the time because there always is to this day some sort of debris. I pointed out the elevations, and I pointed out the debris, and asked if something could be done.
So at that time in 2021, you showed this city employee of the building department the debris inside of your garage?
That's correct.
Okay. To your knowledge, what, if anything, did the city do in 2021 about your bringing this to their attention?
There were, several visits. To my recollection, at least 2, perhaps 3, and nothing was done.
Okay. Did you end up taking this farther? Did you reach out farther?
I did. What, to the city?
To the city.
At that point, no, I don't believe so.
Okay. Well, let's then go to calendar year 2022. Okay.
Okay.
So, what series of events happened in 2022 that related to what you were seeing on the Barber property and your complaints about it?
Series of events. Well, I know that in 2022, I reached out to your law firm for advice, support.
How about as it relates to the driveway and the garage specifically? Did you, apart from anything you talked about with any law firm, what did you do relative to the driveway and the garage, if anything?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Sure. Let's go to Exhibit 8.
Oh, okay.
Did, first of all, do you recognize this document?
I do.
Okay. Do you see a date in the upper right-hand corner?
I do. It's 6/29/2022.
Okay. Does that ring a bell for you?
It does.
Okay. Can you describe what this is?
This is an estimate for repair for 3 sections of driveway that have sunk.
We're going to go to Exhibit 9. This exhibit has 6 pages. I'm going to scroll it and come back up to the top 2. Kathleen, do you recognize this document?
I do.
Okay. Specifically the first 2 pages, what do you understand those to be?
Those are estimates for repair for damage of my garage on the south wall.
Okay. Was this received close in time to the last estimate that you just identified?
I'm sorry. I believe so. Mike testified yesterday that he didn't date his estimate, but I believe so.
Okay. Do you recall, independent of anything we're looking at today, making calls about the driveway for an estimate around the time you made calls about the garage for an estimate?
I do recall them being close in time.
Okay. Did you contact any other professional, and I'm getting out of this exhibit, did you contact any other professional to further understand what was going on with the situation?
I contacted your law firm.
Okay. Outside of law firms, well, I'll strike that question. We're going to go to Exhibit 12, specifically the second page. Kathleen, do you recall testimony about this particular exhibit by Gail Lewin?
I do.
Okay. What do you recognize this document to be?
This is a survey report by Polaris and read by the engineer Dustin Keeney.
Okay. Do you recall how this came to be, how this document came to be?
Yes, I hired them to do a survey of my land and the barber's land.
Okay. Was this survey, well, let's clarify. So this survey doesn't include your entire property. It basically goes to the edge of your garage and wherever the concrete ends around your driveway, right?
That's correct. I should clarify, the survey was done, I had reached out to them about the damage on the south side of the garage.
Okay. So after reaching out to Polaris and receiving this survey, I'll strike that. This date in the near to the upper right-hand corner, do you see that here?
I do.
Does that ring a bell as when you would have received this survey from Polaris?
It does.
What does it say? I can't read
I
it.
apologize. It says 8/18/2022.
Correct.
And I just want to make sure, are we on the same page that that's the date you received this from Polaris?
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
I apologize. I get some of the dates mixed up. There's a lot of information that got us to this point.
Sure. Understood. So, staying on 2022 for a second, right? There has been testimony and some documents already, specifically during the Keller video, Sarah Keller's video, about correction of downspouts. Do you remember that?
I do.
Okay. So what happened in 2022 with respect to the city's involvement as opposed to any time in the past?
After I hired legal counsel, the city came out and did inspections of both of our properties and found 2 violations on the barber's property and 1 on mine.
I know you're not a legal expert, but do you recall what you were cited for and then what action you took in regards to it?
I was cited for a uncapped gutter on the back of my garage, and I capped the gutter.
Okay. Do you recall being cited for this in July of 2022?
I do because I've seen the documents.
And then do you, you mentioned 2 violations for the barbers. Were those also downspouts?
Correct.
Objection.
Hang on a second. Sustained.
I'm going to bring up Exhibit 11. Kathleen, have you seen this document before?
I have.
Okay. Do you see the reference there to recommending correction of 2 downspouts?
I do.
Is that what you were referring to?
That's correct.
Okay. So this was all in the summer of 2022, right?
That's correct.
Do you recall when you capped your gutter in relation to when you were cited?
Immediately, within a week.
Within a week. Okay. Same question, but as to the barber downspouts.
I know that they corrected them. However, I don't recall. I think we both had about the same time frame to correct it, and I'm certain they did it within that time frame.
I'm going to take you to Exhibit 22E. I'm going to play this video all the way through, and then I'll ask you a question.
Okay.
Kathleen, do you recognize this video?
I do.
Okay. What appeared in it?
It's showing the water flow of what I'm seeing is the water flow runoff from their slab patio.
Okay. I'm going to take you to Exhibit 22A. I'm going to play it all the way through. Kathleen, do you recognize that video?
I do.
Okay. Can you describe what appears in that?
Again, it appears to be the water flow runoff on their slab patio, which outlets toward my property.
Okay. Let's go to Exhibit 16. These are photographs, okay?
Okay.
And we're going to, I represent to you that there are dates.
Okay.
Right here, you see up at the top.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Can you make out the first one is October 19, 2020?
Yes.
Okay. Can you make out the last one is June 7, 2022?
Yes.
Okay. We're gonna scroll through a few, stop, and I'll ask you a question.
Okay.
Okay. We're gonna scroll through A through L, and we'll come back.
Okay.
Kathleen, do you recognize those photographs A through L of Exhibit 20?
I do.
Okay. Who took them?
I did.
Okay. Do you recall whenabouts you took them?
I know I began taking photos in October of 2020. However, I don't know the exact dates of these photos.
Let me know if anything at the top center.
Oh, here we go. Yes, there it is.
And I'm asking for your independent recollection. So if that, if that doesn't ring a bell, it doesn't ring a bell. So.
Those dates correspond with my recollection.
Okay, because you mentioned October of 2020.
Correct.
Why did you start taking pictures then?
I realized after the precision door company visited my home and did the wheel lubrication and pointed out that there was damage, that I needed to start documenting. I made the connection with the water that I had been seeing up until that point after the patio was installed to the damage, and that's when I began documenting.
Is it fair to characterize your testimony as that's the first time someone pointed at it? Is that right? Someone
Correct.
pointed- Okay. Okay. Let's go to photos M through T in this exhibit, so we're just going to scroll forward.
Okay.
Now, Kathleen, do you see the date at the top in the middle up there?
Correct. February 24th, 21.
Okay. We're going to scroll through M through T and then come back.
Okay.
Let's get to. So in 2022, what did you see occur, if anything, in the barber backyard?
Well, in this picture, they're building up their garden beds, which they did every year. In their backyard in 2022, I did also, after, I'm going to take a minute and think about the date.
Sure.
I believe in 2022, the trench was filled in, what I call a trench, which is where the back garden beds meet the grassy area.
Is there a laser pointer available? Thank you. Kathleen, from time to time, I may ask you to point something out on the screen with the laser pointer.
Okay.
The green plus sign gets you there.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
On this photograph, are you able to identify what you were just talking about?
It looks like the beginning stages of what I was just talking about, yes. So this area here used to be a very prominent trench. As soon as I made complaints to the city that were heard and responded to, the garden beds, well, in this picture, not so much, because they actually were still mulching, but in pictures down the line, they stopped eventually. But this trench area, which was very prominent, was filled in.
Let's move on to photographs U through ZZ in this exhibit.
I would like to add that
Hang on a second. Just wait for the next question. Go ahead.
So I'm going to scroll U through ZZ, and we can come back. Okay.
okay.
We're going to stop there. Kathleen, is there something specific you wanted to add to your very last answer?
That's okay.
That's okay?
Yes.
Okay. So far as we've been going through these photographs, 2020, 2021, 2022, starting in October, had you seen any difference, negative or positive, relative to the water that you're complaining about coming across the property line?
Are you referring to after the gutters were adjusted, or?
So, not trying to confuse you at all, just a general question.
Okay.
Right? So, this water that you're complaining of, right? And I'm directing your attention to this particular photograph. You see the date up at the top there?
Yes.
7/22.
Yes.
So between October of 2020 and the date we're looking at on this photograph, did the water coming across the property line subside?
No.
Okay. Did you see any marked difference in relation to the water coming across?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to go to Exhibit 26. Kathleen, these are also photographs. They have dates along the bottom here.
Okay.
Okay. You see this first date here at the top, April 11, 2024.
I do.
Do you know who took this?
I did.
Okay. Any reason to doubt that that date is accurate?
There's no reason to doubt.
Okay. So let's scroll through these and come back.
Okay.
Kathleen, you had mentioned gutters being capped, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you had mentioned your gutter being capped shortly after receiving the violation notice from the city in July of 2022.
That's
right?
correct.
So is it fair to assume then that the gutter got capped somewhere between July and August of 22?
That's correct.
Okay. These photographs that we're looking at now, you've identified as 2024 photographs.
Correct.
Right? Okay. What are we seeing across the right side of this photograph?
This is the after rains flooding and debris on the south side of my garage.
Same question?
Same answer, yes.
Same answer. So, do you see the date of this particular photograph at the top in the middle?
I do.
Okay. What do you see?
Flooding and, well, flooding in this picture.
And this date is November 22nd, 2024.
That's correct.
Any reason to doubt that that is accurate?
No reason to doubt.
And you took this picture?
I did.
Okay. Is this the worst it gets?
No.
No? Okay. Is this an example of a regular rain or a light rain? What is this an example of?
I don't remember the exacts of the rainfall this particular day, but it's varying degrees of flooding after every moderate to severe rainfall.
We're going to go to Exhibit 18. We're going to play it all the way through and then come back. I'm going to take you. Actually, I apologize. Here we go. Kathleen, you had mentioned taking a lot of photographs, right? We looked at some today.
That's correct.
Did you also take videos?
I did.
Okay. What span of time did you take the videos?
I would say, I know that in October 2020, I began taking photographs first and then videos all the way until now.
Okay. Do you see the date in the lower left-hand corner here?
I do,
September 26, 2022?
yes.
I should have asked you first. Who took this video?
I took this video.
Okay. Any reason to dispute that's the date of the video?
No reason to dispute.
Okay. So you were out there that evening, right?
That's correct.
What was the rain like that evening that was coming down? Light, moderate, heavy?
The only thing that I can, there isn't rain on my phone. I mean, it's not, I don't really know.
Okay.
And it doesn't look like there's current raindrops at the time, and that was, 2 years ago.
I'll ask a better question. Is it
Okay.
pouring in this video?
It isn't,
Is it pouring rain in this video? Meaning from the sky?
at the time, is it
Yeah,
pouring rain?
yeah.
It doesn't appear to be at the time.
Okay. Yeah, this is what you're seeing in your garage, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Let's go to 18B. We're going to play it all the way through and then come back. I'm going to stop the video here, actually.
Okay.
I'll let it play. It's 8 seconds. So, Kathleen, what area of the garage is shown in this video?
This would be the south wall,
And where does the south wall border, just so we're clear?
the barber's property.
Okay. What are we seeing on the ground?
Flooding.
Okay.
And also debris.
When you say debris, can you describe what that consists of from your memory?
It looks a lot like mulch.
What color?
Dark brown.
How does that compare to the color of mulch we looked at in the earlier photographs?
It looks to be the exact same.
Okay. At this time when you're taking this video, or any time, you've ever taken a video or ever taken a picture, have you seen this on the north side?
No.
No. Go to Exhibit 19. I'm playing now Exhibit 19B. Kathleen, do you see a video here, or do you see a date? I apologize at the bottom.
February 17th, 2023.
I'm going to play it all the way through and come back. I'm going to go a little bit in and stop. Okay. Kathleen, that 21723 indicator in the lower left-hand corner, any reason to dispute that's the right date for this video?
No.
Okay. Who took this video?
I took the video.
Okay. What are we seeing?
A river of water coming to my property.
You had mentioned a trench earlier.
That's correct.
Is that appearing here?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go a little further. Actually, we'll move on to Exhibit 19C. We're going to play it all the way through and come back.
Okay.
Kathleen, who took this video?
I did.
Okay. Any reason to dispute March of 2023?
No.
Okay. What are we seeing in it?
You ask a question? I missed something?
Yep, I'm just setting up the next one. I
All
apologize,
right.
Your Honor. So, Kathleen, is this an example? I'll strike that question. Kathleen, why did you focus on the areas you focused on in this video when you took it?
It's the water flow from their yard to my property.
Okay.
Typical.
Okay.
I also focused on the downspout on the south side of their home. That was altered, but still sending a significant amount of water.
Is that the downspout you're talking about?
That's correct.
This is after it was redirected away from perpendicular, correct?
That's correct.
Do you believe water comes across the property line from that also?
I do.
Kathleen, did you also take, we saw some photographs from 2024. Did you also take some videos in 2024?
I did.
Okay. You see the date at the bottom here?
April 11th, 2024.
Okay. Going a few down the line, specifically to the sixth one, do you see the date there?
September 6th, 2024.
Do you recognize those as the two dates that you took videos?
I do.
Okay. We're going to play the first one. any reason to dispute that's from April 11, 2024?
No,
Who took that video?
I took that video.
Okay. Playing the Exhibit 27F. Kathleen, any reason to dispute that September 6, 2024 date as the date of the video?
No,
And who took it?
I did. Excuse me.
Showing you Exhibit 27G. Kathleen, what are we looking at here?
This is the natural flow of water down my driveway after rain.
From a layperson's perspective, what are we seeing?
Looks pretty good. It goes to the center and down to the street.
Have you ever individually witnessed water from your driveway traveling over onto the Barber property in a way that differs from what we're looking at here?
I have not.
Bring up 27H. Kathleen, who took this video?
I took this video.
Okay. Kathleen, directing your attention to 27I. Do you recognize this video?
I do.
Who took it?
I took this video.
Why did you take it?
I took it to show the substantial amount of water that comes out of that downspout
Okay.
during a moderate rain.
And the downspout you're
The
referring to is the one that hooks behind the HVAC condenser unit?
That's correct.
Let's return back to Exhibit 27B. Kathleen, did you also take this video?
I did.
Also in April 2024? Sorry.
It's okay. That's correct.
Okay. Kathleen, despite any alterations made to your property or any alterations made to the Barber's property to date, since complaining of the issues you've complained of, has the water stopped coming across in a way that you believe is harmful to your property?
It has not.
Kathleen, you are seeking monetary damages in this case, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And those monetary damages are related to the invoicing that we've looked at?
That's correct.
I should better characterize it as estimates, correct?
Correct.
Now, this Levon Group estimate, which is Exhibit 9, this has not been something you've taken up yet, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. You are...
Well,
you,
I should say not in its entirety.
Mm-hmm. And I do want to make clarification to my question. I apologize for being unclear. There's two different pages signifying two different things. Right?
Yes, correct.
What about the one we're looking at here?
This is an abridged, I don't know how to say this. Well, what it is a plan to do repairs to keep the garage safe. Mike Levan was not comfortable waiting until the lawsuit has been going on for 5 years, so he wasn't comfortable waiting any longer to do repair work on the garage. If he didn't do this minimal repair, he wouldn't have felt safe in the garage.
How does that differ from this first page?
The first page is the repair and its completion.
And this has not been undertaken yet?
This has not been undertaken.
Do you plan to do it?
Yes.
Okay. You haven't paid that yet, right?
No.
But you have paid this, right?
I have paid that, yes.
Okay. You testified earlier about this A1 concrete invoice.
Yes.
Okay. Have you paid any of this yet?
No.
Do you plan to do it?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to go to Exhibit 15. Kathleen, outside of the monetary damages you're seeking, are you seeking any other remedy?
The construction of a swale to prevent further damages.
From your perspective, where did that idea originate?
From an as-built survey for their construction of their home.
I know you're not a designer of swales. Do you understand this to be a swale between your driveway and the barber's home in the area of the side yard?
I do.
Gail testified that it's going to drain towards the street. Do you understand that?
That's correct.
Any reason to doubt Gail's recommendation relative to the design or the function of it?
No.
Sustained. And answer stricken.
Kathleen, I don't have any more questions for you. I thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Doucette, cross-examination.
Thank you, Judge.
No. If you need to move anything, just let me know.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Before, obviously, both here and earlier at your depositions, you'll recall.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I said we've met before, not only here, but also at your deposition in September 2023.
That's correct.
So we know that prior to 2019, in other words, prior to the replacement of the brick patio with the concrete patio, prior to 2019, you did have water running in your garage, correct?
I noticed water in my garage from time to time, but a significant increase after the slab patio in 2019.
Prior to 2019, when you did notice water in your garage, you would notice it along the right side, which is the same side that you saw in these pictures here, correct?
Correct.
conversations with the barbers about the water increase that you saw?
I wasn't comfortable having conversations with the barbers about anything on their property.
Just answer the question, please.
The answer is no. Sorry.
From the time that you purchased your house in 2002 to the present, you've never had siding put on your garage?
No,
It's still the same siding that we see today that was there when you purchased the house?
that's correct.
From 2002 until the present, you've never replaced the roof on your garage?
No,
From 2002 to the present, you've never had any concrete work done to the pad inside of your garage?
no,
It's still in the same concrete pad that was there when you purchased the house?
that's correct.
From 2002 until the present, you've never had concrete work performed to the cement pads in front of the garage? Those are still the cement pads that were there when you purchased the house in 2002?
Correct.
And until recently, when the city asked you to cap the gutter on the back of your garage and put a downspout on it, prior to that point, from 2002 until that point, you had never had anybody put gutters or downspouts on your garage?
There is no downspout where the violation was. It's capped.
But prior to fixing the violation, that gutter would have been there since you bought the house, to your knowledge?
Correct.
From the time you thought you saw an increase in the water collecting at the edge of the edging that Sue or Ms. Barber put in the flower bed that reached to your driveway, which is including about 3 feet on your property, correct?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. There's about 3 feet of property that you own beyond your garage heading towards the Barbers.
That's correct.
Okay. So, and there was a time, I think it was one spring in May, that you saw that Sue had edged the bed, including the 3 feet, that's your property, that led to your driveway.
I recall the edging being there for multiple years.
Okay. And at any time, from that moment, even after you saw what you thought was an increase of water, you never did anything to alter that area or the edging that was part of your property?
Where the trench goes, it goes right to the driveway,
And you
almost.
And you did nothing to alter the trench, is my question. Is that correct?
The trench would have been predominantly on the Barber property.
You just need to answer the question, please.
No, I did nothing to alter it.
Thank
Even
you.
to the extent it was on your property, correct?
Again, the trench outlets almost to the driveway. So no, I didn't.
There's been a lot of discussion about the red bricks that are lining the inside of both sides of your garage, and you were here to listen to the discussion of the bricks that are along the inside of the garage where the sill plate is. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
I'm familiar with the bricks, yes.
Okay. And those bricks were from the previous owner. They've been there since you bought the house until the present time.
That's correct.
May I have access to the screen briefly,
Yes.
Judge?
Got it.
Have, just to provide context,
Keep your voice up a little bit, please, Mr. Doucette.
I'm sorry, I am soft-spoken, I apologize. I feel like I'm yelling when I'm speaking in a
No,
normal
that's
sound.
good. That's good right there.
Okay, I honestly, it feels, in my own mind, it feels like I'm yelling, and it's fine. Thank you, Judge, for pointing it out. Okay, so we saw some videos of water, and you had your description of the rainfall, to the extent you could recall it to provide context to this. We also, as you know, have weather reports that I'll refer to here, spanning a period of time throughout the discussion that we can refer to. So I think one of the videos is April 29th of 2021. I'll just do a couple of these. So if we look at the weather report for April 29th of 2021, you can see that we had over 1.5 inches rain that day. Does that refresh your memory to the amount of rain that was pouring at the time you took the video?
I see that you have it here in your document. Yes, I see it there.
I guess to phrase it the way Mr. Brown, like, you have no reason to dispute that number. If there was over 1.5 inches.
May I see the top of the chart again? Does this say that it's Willoughby, Ohio? Okay.
It's Paynesville is the reporting station for this area, and that's the column for precipitation.
Okay.
And then the other data I jotted down is we're going through September 26th, 2022. I just want to take a quick look. According to the weather chart, it looks like on September 25th, the day before, we had 1.25 inches of rain. And then on that day, put the video on September 26th, so 22, we had another 2 inches of rain on top of that. And, does that refresh your memory as to the amount of rain that we had at the time the video was taken?
That's correct, Mr. Doucette. I would have taken video on a day when it rained.
Thank you. And then there's a discussion of hydrangeas. You asked, in a written note, did Sue remove some hydrangeas that have been planted in the beds that you believed and were over property line that exists, because you have the first 3 feet of space by your garage, and 2 hydrangea plants were within that 3 feet of space. So you asked her to remove those. Do I have that?
I'm not sure that it's exactly 3 feet, but yes, I asked her to remove the hydrangeas that she planted on my property. That's correct.
And I understand. Forgive me, I was making an approximation. We do have topographical surveys and things that will show like an exact measurement, but I'm picturing in my mind approximately that distance. I wasn't intending to find it exactly 3 feet. Is it approximately 3 feet?
Give or take.
Okay. Thank you. And then in reclaiming the bed, so to speak, video marked as Exhibit L. And these plants that we see here along the side of your garage, these are all plants that you've installed?
Those are native plants that likely the previous owners planted.
Well, previously where those plants are, were there hydrangeas?
That's correct.
But Sue removed those?
That's correct.
Okay, so those plants would be native plants, so would they either be weeds or something that the prior owners had left there?
They are native plants.
And we can see your garbage cans there, and then we can see those native plants, and then other plant life leading out to the flower beds of the barbers. Can you see that in that picture?
There are plants alongside the garage, correct?
All of that area belongs to you, is your understanding, correct?
I believe we've established that.
Can you use a laser and show us what you're talking about?
Sure.
Actually,
I'd be happy
we had the witness do that.
No analysis of class judge. The wobbly green gets me, but I will try. Okay, so this is your understanding of where the property line is, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So my question is simply...
So are we talking sort of like to the above, the left of those red flowers?
Correct. Like
Right there?
You can see this fence here, Judge? Or I don't mean
Well, I'm
to
asking the
interrupt.
witness a question.
I
Where the red flowers are, you're talking like sort of to the left of that? Not sort of, but to the left of that?
That's correct.
All right.
All right, so this is all your property here? Mrs. Crozier?
That's correct.
And then these are your garbage cans here?
That's correct.
And during the course of this litigation that's been going on for over 2 years, I believe now, you began the practice of putting your garbage cans here on your property, correct?
It's my property. So correct.
And where we see you walking now, to get the garbage cans there, you've got to get them around your native plants towards the front, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then to get the garbage cans there, you walk across the barber's backyard, put them there, you drive them across the barber's backyard to take them out, correct?
Not really.
No?
No.
Now, it's my job to, I'm going to put context to this, to explore bias and motivation.
Just ask a question, please, Mr. Doucette.
Ms. Crozier, does this video show you working my client, little finger bird?
It shows me flipping the video camera off. Yes, that's correct. I've had a video on me for 5 years. It
Just
continues.
answer the question, please. We're not gonna do this. all right?
Okay.
Answer the question, and you just ask questions.
Yes, you do see that. But it's not to my neighbors necessarily. It's to the video camera.
It's not intended to be towards Mrs. Barber?
Not necessarily. No.
Start playing that. Also exhibit L3, which I think shows you moving your garbage cans around. Again, you believe that you're, and maybe you are perhaps from this perspective, that's your property that you're walking on with garbage cans there?
It might be partially on the Barber's. However, when Eugene Barber cuts his grass in the back, he goes across my property.
Answer the question, please.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
And then exhibit L2. Same perspective. And then again, are you walking on your property, or what you're seeing in the video in this area, is that the barber's property or your property to establish?
It's hard to tell. Perhaps both.
So that does give us about 3 feet beyond your garage that you control, fair?
I believe so. Yes.
I don't have any other questions, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Lucas,
I have no questions, Your Honor.
redirect examination. Mr. Barber.
Kathleen, you had mentioned being videotaped. How did you come to know that you were being videotaped?
Initially, the videotape was directed at the inside of my garage, which felt very invasive. And I wasn't sure if it was legal, so I called the police department and explained to them the situation. And they said, if I were you, I would put up a tarp. So I put up a ladder with a tarp over it and spread it out with rocks initially. And at that point, they turned, because I lay on a lawn chair in the sun. I wanted to put a weight bench in the garage at one point and lift weights. It felt very invasive and unnecessary. And so it was then moved to a window inside the home. I can see it. And it still remains. It's been there for, oddly, 5 years.
So, are you saying you felt the presence of being watched day to day while doing anything in and around your garage and the driveway area nearest to it?
Yeah, like paparazzi.
How'd that make you feel?
It's uncomfortable and invasive feeling, actually.
Did it make you upset?
I mean, not necessarily upset. It's just weird. I mean, it's just...
So we saw a couple garbage cans that you put along the right side of the fence over there.
That's correct.
I'm sorry, the right side of the garage over there, right?
That's correct.
On your property?
Yes.
Okay. Did the placing of them in that location correlate to anything in particular, or is it random?
Well, initially it was when Mike Levan was doing the repair work on the inside of the garage. I had to clear out a lot of stuff. And I was like, oh, this is a good spot for it. So I moved him around the corner, and actually it stopped water from coming into my garage. So it ended up being a good thing. And I just left. I see them too, by the way, when I pull up my driveway. So it was in no way to be like, yeah. So anyway.
Did the barbers ever complain to you verbally about the location of the garbage cans?
I have never heard anything from them about the garbage cans.
How about in writing?
No.
Have they ever complained to you verbally about walking across that pathway to remove and place the cans?
No, and Eugene Barber, when he cuts the small area of grass in their backyard, goes across my property every time, but I'm not going to be petty about something like that, so I never said anything.
So it's fair to say that little space in that area is something where you've walked across it and Eugene Barber has walked across it.
That's correct.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Recross as to that, redirect, Mr. Doucette.
No, thank you, Judge.
Mr. Lucas, anything?
No, thank you, Judge.
No, you may return to your seat. Thank you. Plaintiff may call our next witness.
Okay. Plaintiffs call Mr. Eugene Barber.
You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Okay.
Whenever you are ready, Mr.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Let me interrupt you for 1 second. Ladies and gentlemen, in a civil lawsuit, each party has the right to call the other side as if they were on cross-examination. So that's what's happening here. And it's a little different than you normally tell your own witness. He is permitted to cross-examine this witness because he's an opposing party.
Sure. Thank you. Mr. Barber, good morning.
Morning.
Will you please state your full name and spell your last name for the record?
Eugene Keith Barber, B-A-R-B-E-R.
Thank you. Mr. Barber, let me ask you a few introductory type questions.
Okay.
Okay. First in the line of education.
Okay.
So where did you graduate from high school?
Willoughby South.
Did you pursue any education immediately after high school?
Just 2 years at Ohio Wesleyan and maybe
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
2 years at Ohio Wesleyan and then probably a year at Lakeland Community College.
Okay. Did you ultimately obtain a degree from Ohio Wesleyan in any particular
No.
area? How about, you said Lakeland College?
Yeah.
How about there?
No.
Okay. What did you study?
Pardon?
What did you study?
Well, I was going to go into business, study business, but, you know, college and school and I just didn't agree. And so started to get out in the working world and joined my father's roofing business.
Well, let's get into that. At any time prior to working in your father's roofing business, did you work in any trade or any area whatsoever?
Yeah, I caddied at Kirtland Country Club and worked on the grounds crew there, and that would help my dad occasionally.
Did that involve some landscaping duties?
At
Kirtland Country Club?
Yeah, you did the building, you know, the grounds, taking care of the golf course.
Okay. What in particular did you do?
It was just labor, you know, being part-time help for the summer. So, you know, probably, you know, cutting some grass, nothing cutting greens or fairways, just, you know, stuff that a part-time high school student would do.
Did you move some sand around from time to time?
Raked it.
Raked it?
Yeah,
Did you move some dirt around from time to
a
time?
little bit.
A little bit. Let's talk about you joining up with your father's company. First of all, do you recall about when, in terms of your age, you joined the company?
1976, the year I graduated.
1976?
Yeah.
Okay. Around that time, what was your role in the company?
Just work for my dad, you know, get started in the roofing and see where it goes.
Was it called Barber Roofing?
Barber roofing.
Okay. Did your dad have any partners at the time?
Not at the time, no.
Okay. How many people worked with you for this company?
It was just my father, myself, and then one other of my classmates from the high school.
Okay. What type of roofs did you work on?
Just residential.
Just residential?
Yeah.
In working on residential roofs, did that include, for instance, replacements versus just a repair?
Yeah. You know, re-roof, tear off, roof, you know.
So it's fair to say that you went through the whole process of tear off to full replacement. Is that
Correct.
okay? As part of that process, did you also have occasion to remove and reinstall gutter systems?
Yes, because when you tear off, you know, you'd have to take the gutters off, put your layer of felt down, put the gutter back up. So we're real familiar with that.
Okay. Being real familiar with that, did you have occasion to work with the installation of downspouts?
Correct.
Okay. That's a component part, you'd say, of the gutter system?
That's all part of it, yeah.
Okay. How long did you work since 1970, or strike that question. From 1976 to when did you work in the Barber Roofing Company?
Started in 1976. Took it over in 1981. My father passed away suddenly, and then went all the way to 2007 when I pretty much got out, and then took another job at Meister Media Worldwide, taking care of the buildings and grounds there.
Okay. So let's cover the Barber Roofing period first. So you, if I have this right, around 2007 is when you stopped?
Yes.
Okay. Did the business close? Did you sell it? What'd you do?
It started with my dad, it was going to end with me, so just walked away from it.
Did you have any employees outside of yourself for Barber Roofing during the period that you were the owner?
Yeah, I would have, college kids come and help me for the summer.
Sure. Or would you call them contract employees versus W2?
Subcontractors, yeah.
Subcontractors, okay. Okay. So what then is your experience with dealing with the permitting process, for instance, for a roof that you were doing for a residential process?
Well, once you got the job, you'd have to go down to City Hall, building department, file all your paperwork for, the job you're going to do, get the permit, and then get yourself started.
Okay. At the very end of the process of a roofing reinstallation, did you experience a requirement of an inspection?
Yes, you'd have to just call in and tell them you're done, then they would go out and inspect, and in the case of the City of Willoughby, then you get your security deposit back.
Did you ever have an instance where they took issue with something that Barber Roofing did and maybe needed to be corrected?
No.
No? So never once did you ever have any issue that after inspection required correction during your period as the owner of Barber Roofing?
No.
Okay. While working in that role, did you become familiar with the application of any city ordinances to the requirements for a roofing system? Did you ever have occasion to review that with anyone, the city ordinances?
No, just, the residential roofing I did basically dealt with asphalt shingles, no commercial roofing, flat roof, that type of rubber product. So it was just basically shingles.
Okay. So these products you were applying, you said shingles, were they made by a certain manufacturer and then distributed by a certain distributor?
Yeah, you would just buy them at the supply, and you'd have your own, what should I say, manufacturer, certain makes. There's probably 3 or 4, well-known ones, but for the most part, you would just pick one and use their products.
Okay. Let's go to Exhibit 17A, please. Mr. Barber, this photograph's been shown a few times. Do you recognize your home as the one on the right?
Correct.
Okay. Just so I have my directions straight, if you were traveling the direction of the Crozier home, you'd be traveling north. Is that right?
Say that again?
If we started at the edge of your house, and drew a line over to where it meets Kathleen's Crozier's house,
Right.
in a perpendicular way, you'd be going
North.
North. Okay. And your house, so reciprocally, your house is south of hers.
Correct.
Okay. As we're staring at this photograph, if I'm looking directly at what's been identified by other witnesses as the Crozier garage, if I'm traveling there from the street, which direction am I heading?
Heading east.
Heading east. So reciprocally, if you're coming from the Crozier garage and you're traveling towards the street, you're heading west.
Correct.
Right? Okay. Do you recall approximately what year you purchased the lot that home you built is on?
1984, I would think. Yeah.
Was there anything there at the time you bought it?
Just trees out in the front tree lawn. It was pretty much a bare lot.
Okay. Fair to say there was no home sitting on it when you bought it?
No.
So all the construction we see that are within, we'll say, the corners of the parcel that you bought, the lot that you bought, is your construction, right?
Correct.
Okay. As we're looking at this photograph straight on, would you agree with me that the elevation of your home is higher than the elevation of the Crozier driveway and garage as we're staring at it together right now?
Correct.
Okay. So there is fall away from the edge of your home down the slope of your side lawn towards the Crozier driveway, right?
There's what?
A fall slope?
Yep, there's a little fall there.
Okay. We're going to go to Exhibit 2. Mr. Barber, I represent to you, this is Plaintiff's Exhibit 2. It's 2 pages. I'm going to scroll this so you see both. The second page is really big, so I need to pare it down a bit, try to fit it on the page for you. So, you bought the lot in roughly 1984, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. As we're looking at this document together, are you able to identify what this title means?
Yes.
What is it?
It's a as-built certification.
Okay. There was earlier testimony about William Landig, a surveyor, a registered surveyor, signing this. Do you recall that?
Well, I see his signature right there.
Okay. Do you recall if he was a surveyor engaged by you to do the certification of the as-built? Or I should say, to certify the boundary monuments have been placed at each corner of the property in accordance with the current minimum standards for boundary surveys in the state of Ohio?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to page 2. Mr. Barber, I know this is quite small, so I'm going to blow up certain areas in a moment, but do you recognize this document?
Yeah, it looks like a as-built document.
So you've seen this before?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to take you down to lower left corner. See that area I just highlighted?
Yes.
Okay. Is it big enough where you can make out a final grading plan?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see underneath not approved?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see above it notes in red?
Yes.
Do you see one of the notes saying need for swale? I believe it says a long left property line.
I see that.
Okay. Let me ask you, you identified this as an as-built. Have you ever seen any other version of this exact page we're looking at, other than the one we're looking at right now?
No, this would be the one that was required by the city through the permitting process.
Okay. So it's your testimony today. This was a required part of the permitting process, right?
You would have to file it towards the end towards the completion of the job, or when you come to the end of the job.
Okay. Looks like there's a signature there called Patzer Thomas Inc. Do you see, or not a signature, a date above called Patzer Thomas Inc. 5/9. Oh boy.
86.
86, I think, right?
Yeah.
Any reason to dispute that's the date of this document?
No, I have no reason to dispute it.
Okay. Any reason to dispute that line that says need for swale along left property line was written by the same person that wrote final, not, and the date?
Well, I see the swale, but I also see the rough grade only approved. And then at the not approved, that was, May 9th, 1986? Mm-hmm. Well, we still hadn't put the final grade in and planted the grass, and that happened the end of June of 86. So we couldn't go ahead and ask for a final until we put the final grade in.
Have you ever seen a document along this thread, this as-built? Have you ever seen an as-built, like the one we're looking right now, that relates to your property, that says yes, approved?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
All I know is...
Hang on.
Okay.
Barbara, do you have any opinion as you sit here today on whether a swale exists in the area described within that note?
Yeah, I honestly do. When I was working with the inspector for the final, walkthrough, we were given a punch list of things to do in the house. Maybe put a handrail in. I think there was a list of about 7 of them, but seeing that the rough grade was approved, we also walked, and he recommended to me to put a drain on the side of the property. I know it wasn't on the original print, and so that was his recommendation to me. So after the rough grade was approved, then you plant your grass, you put down your topsoil, you feather it in, and if you have a drain, you're going to naturally, through my landscaping, a little bit I know, you're going to funnel stuff to the drain. So you're going to kind of develop your own swale.
Okay. Well, returning back to the idea of the swale in particular, do you have an opinion as it stands today, right now, whether there is a swale in that location on the property?
I say there is a swale there because I can see worn out grass or running to that drain. So I think the water is running down the side property and then running to that drain there. Yes, so I do see a drainage to that drain.
So, let's close out of this exhibit for a second. I'm going to open up 27A. Mr. Barber, is the swale you describe capturing all of the water from your property all the way back to where, we'll say, the patio ends, forward to where you're describing this drain that the city approved? Is it capturing all that water and sending it?
I don't know if it's capturing all, but from the previous testimony from your engineer, she kind of gave her definition of grading of.
No, it's just,
excuse me.
let's just, you answer the question.
Oh, okay. It moves to down the side yard, but I'm not going to say everything moves there, but it gets, moves to the side yard, gets absorbed by the grass and the lawn and the plants. So I'm not going to discount that, we all get a little bit of our neighbors' runoff.
Would you prefer if it caught all of the water? Any of the water you're missing, would you prefer it caught it to send it to the drain?
No, it was, rough grade was approved. So to me, the city approved it. We, met all our needs to them and did the things that they required me to do. And then, through almost 40 years now, it's all we've done over there is basically just cut the grass.
Let's leave the city be for a second.
No?
Wouldn't it be better if it did? Wouldn't it be better if it did?
No.
Catch the water that it's missing.
No, I think it's it blends in when you work with the city back and forth. They're trying to melt the property in with the neighborhood. So these were the stuff we talked about, and he gave me his recommendations, and I did it. And we're the last house built in that area, so he made sure we melded in with the rest of the neighborhood.
So you're testifying today that you believe a swale exists in that area, correct?
Down the side there, yeah, because we have to, with the final grading, you create, what you think is swale, and I think it is, to move water to that drain.
And you're also testifying that some of the water further back towards the rear of your backyard doesn't necessarily make it there, right? It doesn't make it into the swale. Is that correct?
I don't know if it makes it there. It just gets absorbed into the grass, the shrubs, the flowers. So I think majority of it moves out down and then down the side yard.
Well, let's be clear. It doesn't capture all of it, does it?
No, I don't think any piece of property captures all your. I mean, I have on the other side of my property, I have puddles in between the garage from, gutter water coming out from their downspout. And that just sits there. So I think it just goes with the territory a little bit.
So Is that a yes or a no? I just want to be clear. Does it capture the water in the backyard past the side yard? Does it capture that water and send it to your drain?
Okay.
Overruled. You know.
Does it capture it?
Yeah.
I don't think it captures it all, no.
Okay. So there is a swale, doesn't capture everything. Same page, right?
Captures the majority of it.
Okay. Why not change the design of the swale that currently exists to capture all of it?
Because I didn't have to. I was already approved with the rough grade only, and I was asked to add a drain on the side of the property that was extra, wasn't on the print, and I believe that took care of the whole situation with the end product of the house construction.
So the net effect is, first of all, are there any other reasons outside of what you just said that you wouldn't change the design to capture all the water it's missing?
I didn't have to. The city requested me to do certain things to honor for me to get my final, which was, taken care of in 1990.
So as we sit here today, that's the one and only reason. Am I right?
Pardon?
So as we sit here today, what you just testified to is the one and only reason, correct?
My one and only
Reason for not changing the design to
Yeah,
capture the water,
yeah,
capture 100% of the water.
yeah, it's pretty tough to capture 100%.
Bear with me, I apologize, give me 1 second. Let's move on to Exhibit 7. Oop. I'm at Exhibit 5. Apologies. Oh, I'm screwing up. Give me 1 second. I'm bringing up, sir, Plaintiff's Exhibit 11. I apologize for flipping around. So, I believe you had just mentioned that, let's step away from this exhibit for a second. You had just mentioned that you had verbal discussions with someone from the city about placing a drain near the front of the home, near the front corner of the home, to act as a drainage mechanism right around when you were getting the permitting process completed. Is that right, for the home? I'll straighten. That was a terrible question. I'll straighten the question. You had a conversation with someone at the city about putting the drain near the front corner of the home around the time construction finished for your house.
Back in '86 with the building inspector, right.
Have you ever seen any document, ever, that has that drain on it?
No, it was added.
So, Mr. Keller testified that in relation to a question about the yard drain, because he did testify to the yard drain. He said either the homeowner could have agreed with the engineer for the city to install it, or the homeowner could have installed it on his own. Do you remember him saying that?
Vaguely.
Okay. So, am I understanding correctly that your testimony is you did come to an understanding or agreement with the engineer of the city that your yard drain would take care of the water in that area?
With the building inspector, who was, like city spokesman. So I installed it on what he recommended to keep the process to get the final.
Okay. So we had seen on the as-built a note about a need for a swale, correct?
I think there was one on there, yeah.
Okay. Have you seen a note on any document at all that says drain substitutes for swale?
No, because the drain was added as the request from the city building inspector at the time in 1986.
Outside of you, sir, are we to expect any testimony at all in regards to corroborating that agreement you had about the drain with the city?
Say that again?
Sure. Outside of what you're telling me right now,
Right.
just you, do we expect any corroborating testimony as opposed to a document that would corroborate that agreement that the drain would substitute for any prior version of a swale and an as-built?
I just did what the interaction with the building inspector at the time, what he recommended would be a thing to do to satisfy the city.
Same page. Totally understand that you're telling me that.
Right.
Are we to expect any other corroborating testimony in that regard at all?
Sustained.
Okay. Okay, so back to the page. So we are looking at Plaintiff's Exhibit 11. There has been testimony earlier about 2 downspouts on your property being corrected. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. In your own words, what did you do to correct the downspouts?
Well, originally it comes down and it was just kicking out onto our property and then moving down to the drain. But as per Daryl, what he wanted us to do, just redirect it away from the property line. So the one, we put a B-style elbow, so that's the patio drain that kind of moves the water to the left and into the flower bed. And then the other one, we put a B-style elbow and then a downspout behind the air conditioner that dumps out into the side flower bed on the other side of the air conditioner.
Go to Plaintiff's Exhibit 10. Specifically, although they should be letters, it's 3A, 3B. I'm bringing up 3A first. Oops. Mr. Barber, what lies under the arrow in black that's pointing to the patio?
That's the downspout pipe from the inside roof of the addition here.
Okay. And you said that you already described to everyone how that was corrected, right?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Barber, this is the sort of the reciprocal visual of that?
Right.
Okay. Mr. Barber, is this the other downspout that was corrected to go behind the condenser unit out there?
Yeah, that was before it was corrected.
Okay. I'm going to take you to Exhibit 24. Make this a little bigger. Make it a little smaller. Apologies. Mr. Barber, do you see the very last line of this document here that says, the storm drain outlets carrying roof water shall not be directed to a side yard and shall not be connected to footer drains. Connection of any pipe carrying roof water, yard drainage, or any other drains to a sanitary sewer is prohibited. Do you see that?
Yes.
Do you believe that Mr. Keller's directive to you to change the direction of those 2 downspouts we just looked at was to comply with the section of this that says the storm drain outlets carrying roof water shall not be directed toward a side yard?
I just did what he told me to do. He wanted the water redirected from running towards her driveway. So again, we just redirected each downspout and moved it into the flower beds.
So, having, I'll strike that. You testified earlier you had decades of experience in roofing, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, having, strike that, you also testified that never once did the city ever come to you and say, nope, that doesn't work. Every single time you'd ever worked on a roof, you never experienced a violation. Is that right?
Never.
Okay. Wouldn't you agree with me that this itself is a violation that needed to be corrected, not on someone else's home, but on your own?
No, because I pulled all the permits and did what the city required me to do from start to finish, and I was in compliance with them every step of the way.
So, sir, this is the only example that you can think of in your decades of working as a roofing professional where the city has told you to correct something, and it just happens to be your own house. Is that
Well,
right?
when in the city there, I grew up in that same ward, a quarter mile from there, and this goes back probably
So can you
to.
answer the question that
Oh,
you asked?
well, can you ask that again?
Sure. So, sir, is this the only example you've ever experienced of a city telling you that you are not in compliance and that the issue needs correction in relation to a roof you constructed, and the roof just happens to be yours?
No, I was in compliance with the city and what they recommended for me to do.
So, it's your testimony today that you were in compliance at the time that the original roof with the downspout to the side yard was discharging perpendicular to the Crozier driveway. That you were in compliance at the time it was constructed, correct?
At the time, yes.
But yet the city, within the last 2 years, told you that's wrong. Am I right?
Well, they just recommended that I guess, for the complaint that was going on, it's been like that for years. Let's just turn it off to the side and redirect it away from perpendicular or, sideways. Let's take it sideways.
Is it fair to say you believe you had universal compliance across the board for all component parts of your property upon seeing that inspection sign off for the property at the end of the construction? The inspector signed off on that final sign off. That was it. You were in full compliance across the board.
I've worked in Willoughby my whole life. Through the whole permitting process from start to finish, we did what they required us to do, and up until the final approval, which was 1990.
Right. So that didn't. I'm going to ask the question one more time. At the time that you saw the inspector sign off on all the inspections for the property, I believe it was in 1990. Is that right? The inspector signed off on all the inspections for the property.
No, he gave me the recommendation back in 1986.
Sure.
So, and we did that. So,
Sorry, I apologize. I'm not trying to confuse you.
no.
I honestly don't remember who testified about it or if it was in openings, but there has been statements made so far that there is a sign off. I think it was Daryl Keller, actually, right? Daryl Keller in the video said, I'm looking at this sign off on this one yellow sheet. This sign off means all the inspections are done. And that represented full compliance across the board with the home, correct?
On my home?
Yeah.
Yes, as far as he cleaned up the whole permit there in 1990.
Has anything changed about the downspouts, direction of the downspouts or otherwise since that time?
Since 1990?
Since 1990.
Well, yeah, Daryl came out and had us redirect it into the side yard.
That's a terrible question. Before Daryl came out and told you to change it, between Daryl coming out and telling you to change it and 1990, Did anything change about the directions of the downspouts or anything about them?
No, those were running out onto our property since on the main house, when it was built, 1986, the back corner there would come out on the side. Then when we put our addition on, you bring the gutter down and then it dumps into the lower gutter, comes out on, that hasn't changed for, it's 30 plus years until Daryl told us to, redirect it.
So the conditions, to be clear, the conditions of the downspouts between 1990 and when Daryl came out and told you to change it hadn't changed, right?
Right.
Okay. So taking all that we just talked about into consideration, as of 1990, sign off, everything is complete, right? That final signature on all the inspections. That didn't catch it.
That what?
That didn't catch the downspout issue. It couldn't have, and nothing had changed about it.
Well, there was no issue back. The issue just popped up. I think. When did she file her complaint with the city?
Well, what does her complaint with the city have to do with the fact that they were in violation according to Daryl Keller?
Well, her complaint was that the water coming out of the downspout was being directed to her property, and we did what should I say, the repairs or the recommendations that he did alleviate that problem.
That sign off on the inspection did not catch the violation relative to the downspouts, correct? That sign off, that final approval that's been represented, did not catch the current violation. Am I right?
Daryl signed off on that.
Overall,
Can you repeat that?
Correct. What?
you said Daryl signed off on it.
Daryl signed off on that.
Ask your next question, please.
Sure. I have no further questions. Thank you.
All right, sir, you may return to your seat. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take our lunch break here. Please remember the admonitions that I have given you. Don't talk about the case with each other, with anyone else. Please don't let anyone talk about it with you or in your presence. No researching, investigating any issues involved in this case. It's going to recess to 1:20 and then start back up. Thank you.
All rise.